So I'm going to come to a seated position here. This is called Vajrasana. It's very classic. I like to start like this to stretch out my ankles. But if that's too intense, you can sit cross-legged or on a block. Try to sit up nice and tall. Take a few moments just to kind of, just like we do standing, you kind of connect to your body, a little intentional fidgeting, just to really establish yourself in a comfortable seat where you can be still for just a minute or two here, and you can bring your full attention to the subtle body, the breath. And once the body settles, close the eyes. Bring your awareness to how your breath is affecting the body. Start to breathe a little deeper, in and out the nose. Starting to notice if the breath is going more into the chest or more into the abdomen, maybe bringing the breath to where it's lacking stimulation. Notice if the breath is really affecting the front body. Maybe try to bring it into the back body more. When you think of core breathing, we think of the abdominal breath, right? So trying to, as you inhale, bring the breath into the lower abdomen. So your abdomen is expanding forward, back, and to the sides. And even the sensation of the abdomen kind of lifting up and down. So spreading in all those kind of dimensions. Just take another moment here with the breath attention. Today we'll go through some classic kind of yoga core exercises. Remember to pace yourself, listen to your body. Yoga core can get quite strenuous. And some days it might be a class where you need to practice backing off a little bit. All right? Whenever you're ready, yogis, let's continue our breath work in our first movement, coming forward into the tabletop. Feel free to shake your body out if you need after seated. Tabletop, nice big inhale. We arch the back, starting with the cow posture, and then big exhale into the cat. You guys know this. Close your eyes. Connect your breath to the movement. I'm starting to deepen my breath a little bit more here, breathing a little bit more intensely. Maybe drawing a little bit circular motions here, moving a little bit side to side, a little bit more of exploratory movement. So that's a little bit more for the pelvic tilt. The core, now a little bit more for your major joints. I'm just going to keep it simple to start. So the basic version, on your inhale from table, right leg and left arm reach in opposition. Notice my back wants to arch, pull the belly in, so a lot of core awareness. Left hand, right knee down. At your pace, inhale, opposite arm and leg, right arm, left leg. Exhale. Notice I'm taking it pretty slow. My body's pretty stiff. Drove a lot yesterday. So I'm just kind of giving it a little extra care and caution. We're just reaching the opposite leg. So I'm not going into my abs yet. I'm more focusing on the back of the hip, just not letting the back arch. So it's like a subtle activation of the core here. There's still core in the front. It's more like not letting it do the arching it might want to. Okay, take a moment. We're still in kind of warm-up mode for your core. I'm gonna widen my knees just a little bit. Both hands will come down. I might even shorten my stance a little. Bring my hands a little closer together. Big inhale, right arm goes out and up. Just don't shorten your stance too much. Notice my spine is still long. I don't want to be kind of here, okay? Inhale, we twist the arm out and up. Exhale. Remember, it's a warm-up, yogis. We're not trying to, let's say, increase range of motion necessarily here. We're not trying to challenge your strength necessarily. Warm-up is to warm the body up, to get it moving, get the blood flow going. Take it slow. Try to use your breath to guide the movement, and try to feel as much as possible. Remember in the beginning, yoga, in yoga practice, you're kind of instructing people to feel the body a lot. Connect presently to yourself, the sensations, and listen to the body. And then it's more like listen and feel the breath. And then it's more like listen and feel the mind. But then one of the most difficult transitions from the beginner to the intermediate is the subjective to the objective. So basically to stop kind of being, the experiencer and more of the objective observer. All right, let's keep going, yogis. Downward facing dog is next. Anytime you need to roll out your wrists, that's always a good idea. I honestly don't stretch my wrists that much when I practice. I have this weird habit of kind of sleeping with my wrists like this, in like a reverse stretch. I don't stretch my wrists that much in practice. Some days it feels like it needs it, but I do want you to add that in if you need, okay? So let's come to our down dog. Let's pedal our calves out now. This gets us more into those underarms. Shake your head a little, yes or no. You're still in exploring mode. Now, I give you a lot of freedom in practice, but I got to be careful there because I might be too, my lack of wanting to discipline you guys can give you too much freedom where you're going to drop into your patterns. And so just notice that, I give you a lot of freedom. Try to notice too much fidgeting or always doing the posture the same old way. Okay, to start, if you're ready, we're going to start with a couple chaturangas. You can do modified version where you just kind of shift forward and back, or just the push up and back, but I'll do the full variation. So once you're in down dog, on your inhale, shift forward, like a wave, high plank, maybe a few extra push-ups if you'd like, but make them yogic, right? Slow and aware, meditative, using it to learn about the body, not just using it to make your muscles swell up, right? Eventually taking it down to the chest, and I'm taking it slow this morning, so you lift your heart here, back of the neck, and I'm pausing, just like the posture before. We kind of pause for a moment, and then you lower down. Okay? I'm going to tuck my toes, lift my hips, my core, press up to my knees or plank, and come down dog. So there's our slow version, and now you might go a little faster. Inhale like a wave, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, use your core, down dog. Let's take a few more of these. I know these can get repetitive in yoga, things like sun salutation, but man, they're fantastic. Full body flexibility and strength. Feet are learning to work, ankles are learning to work with, upper shoulders, neck, and all the way through. It's really smart to kind of teach your body to work together. Right? Full body here, pushing and pulling, up and down, forward and back. And then when you add things like sun salutation, it's even more complex, where you're adding chairs and lunges and step forward. It's really fantastic. All right, yogis, back and down dog. Walk your hands to the back of your mat. Widen your feet, please. We're going to take a nice inhale. We'll half lift. And then we'll forward fold, just to get a little spinal length. Weight to the toes. If you want to throw your arms behind your back after our chaturangas, take a few breaths here. And if there's a different version, if that's too much, just keep your hands on the floor, on blocks. Some people like to intertwine their forearms and kind of sway side to side. You can even kind of have your hands on the floor and doing a little bit more of a crawling your hands around, looking for stickiness in the body. So if you're just joining, we're doing pretty classic kind of core stuff. And remember, core tends to sometimes be thought of as your abs, but it's so much more. Your back, your lower back, even like your middle back, your hips, your outer hips, your butt, your psoas, even your groin and your quads and hamstrings are considered in a lot of circles to be core because they stabilize your pelvis. All right, guys, let's bring our hands on our hips. Let's bend our knees and rise up. If you want a little twist here to loosen up, we did do a twist earlier, but it was a little sticky, kind of stiff twist. Close your eyes for a moment. Loosen up. Now, you know I love some Kriya Yoga. And we are going to do this squat Kriya. Again, this is really a lot of core. Remember that I prefer that you don't go deep if you're new to squatting, but deep does affect the body different. I would say that deep squatting is more core. It's more glutes. Remember that your feet can be about hips width distance. They can be slightly turned open. And I like to kind of switch it up as I go through this. Notice my feet are slightly turned out and slightly wider than hips, okay? Go ahead, exhale, inhale. As I bend my knees, they do not buckle in, okay? Keep them out over the toes. So make this a meditative experience. Close your eyes. You know, there's work and effort, but just be careful, you know, when I teach classes like this, you know, sometimes our old fitness ways can kind of get, that's not bad, you know, but I'm just trying to remind you to make it very kind of meditative and focus on the breath here. Kind of slow down a little bit. Feel it all. And then as you get more warmed up, maybe you speed it up, right? Speed doesn't determine quality. I kind of rather have you slow it down first. Now, you know, we had our feet here. Maybe you step it in a little bit, and that's going to affect the body actually a lot different. Just notice, I'm not really hinging. It's more of like squatting. My chest stays up. My butt might go back and down. But I'm not really hinging. Okay, so big difference. A lot of times I say squat and I see people hinging. Okay, so just so we're clear, squatting is this, hinging is this. We are now squatting. Okay, last few guys, just one round today. Kind of like going in and out of chair pose, getting those arms really loosened up. Yeah, so you can reverse the circle too. I saw a lot of you do that. Yeah, it's a little bit different. You know, it's commonly, you know, people are trying to strengthen like their glutes, and it's commonly felt like, oh, squat is such an excellent exercise for glutes. There's a funny trick there. If you only squat half, you don't actually fire much glute. But if you squat below knee, you get a ton of glute squatting. So, you know, the deeper the squat, the more glute you get. So basically, you know, the more you're up high, the more you're going to stay into like the quad, let's say. Okay? Get out of there, guys. Take a little breather. Let's do our first balance posture. Let's be still. A lot of movement. So let's slow down. Arms can go up. Left foot on the inner right shin. If you want a little bit more, you could lift. Grab the left knee. It's a type of tree posture, right? Where we're on the one foot. I'm standing up nice and tall, rolling my shoulders back and down. Either way, my arms are working. A few more breaths. Now say you're getting good at this. Focus a little bit more on the breath, or even work on maybe closing your eyes. Big inhale. Left foot down. Maybe take your arms down for a moment. Arms back up. I think most of us were doing the tree. A couple of us were doing the shin bind, shoulders back and down. Have a little meditative experience, slowing down, a little bit more subtle muscular activation. Right, so a nice static, asymmetrical, straight-legged, tonic posture after all the opposite, a very bending, moving, dynamic, symmetrical exercise. So you can see the nice contrast. And I mentioned like tonic, it's versus phasic. Phasic is like a big, forceful, big muscle exercise. And this is where that body kind of slows down, like stabilizes everything. All right, get out of there, yogis. Let's come up to the top of our mats. Widen your feet. Now let's take it down to a yogi squat. So it's basically like second round of squat, but more like stretch. Push the knees open, lift the heart. So we're gonna get into it a little bit more. Don't be shy to take your modified versions. Classic yoga core today. Big inhale. Hands plant, hips lift, walk back to high plank position. So if you came in a little after we started, we did quite a few things down here to warm up. Now we're getting into it a little bit more. Heels to the left, slowly, fingertips of right hand, right arm out and up. I'm not gonna make you hold it long. Top arm reaches forward, squeeze the butt, lengthen the side bodies. Remember, you can drop your knee, but at that point, it's not really like a side plank. So I will show modified versions now. More of a modified true side plank is like this. I'm on the forearm and the knees. So my feet are behind me, and this tends to be a much, easier form for some of us. And it's totally excellent. You don't need to do the full version, okay? Big inhale. Let's come back through high plank and do our second side, please. So we're gonna go through the side planks, and then we're gonna do our kind of locust, and then we're gonna do two types of, like, let's say stretches, and then we're gonna hit like your abs and bridge. So front and back body more isolated, all right? So we're in our second side plank. It's okay to rest early, yogis. A side plank is a really good way to, get close to injury. So it's okay. Side plank is difficult for very strong, seasoned practitioners. Okay, now big inhale. We're not done yet. We got one more round. I want to get these done early. I don't like doing side plank later when your arms are tired. So I'm going to take a little breather if I need and come down to my forearms. So we'll do a second round, but on the forearms. We'll walk our feet back eventually. We'll bring our hips about as high as our shoulders. We'll turn the left forearm in, palm down, and we'll work the side plank, Vasishta. Classic yoga posture here. Vasishta. Remember this, sometimes they say a yogi is one who studies the Vedas. It's basically the most ancient kind of scriptures of the Hindu kind of yoga, Sanskrit philosophy. It's like these ancient poems and scriptures. And Vasishta is one of the writers of the most ancient yoga texts. Okay, we got one more round. It looks like most of you guys are done. One more round. After this, you're going to be done with side planks. So get her done. Try to find a nice angle with the bottom forearm. So I think it's your right forearm here. Yeah, if I don't like the forearm all the way forward, like a hyper rotation, kind of like a nice middle zone, the forearm kind of angles in. Modified side plank I showed on the forearm with the shin, because you're strengthening your waist through your pelvis, through the legs. All right, guys, so that's our first really big body thing. All right, so, our first really big kind of full body hold. Tree is a lot easier than that. So let's make it down to the chest. Take a moment, after that. I like to have you do these things quality. It's kind of like, when you're doing an intense exercise, say you're working out, you take a few moments to calm your nerves so you can do the next one with quality and awareness. All right, yogis, so we're gonna do our locust. Now we did some cobras. Locust is where the legs lift. and the arms also lift. So everything is gonna lift now. We have a lot of options here. Arms come down by side a little bit easier, a little stronger, arms wide, a lot stronger as arms forward, okay? Here we go, let's point our toes. Nice inhale, we're gonna lift the heart, lift the legs, lift the arms. And I can lift higher than this, but I'm being easy. Okay, and then I'm gonna lower down. Then I'm gonna lift again. And then you have a really potent, kind of coherent experience in this form and activation of your body. You close your eyes and you do a few more. Uh-oh, Grace gave you a high five there. So you do a few more, yogis, until, it's for your body. A beginner probably wouldn't have to do as much as someone who's doing this a lot. And remember this idea of not pushing your abdomen down, because then that's gonna literally muscularly pulls down on the arch. Remember when your legs go behind you, they already wanna arch your back. It's like anterior tilting the pelvis. So you wanna, in a sense, pull against that. We do that in all yoga poses. Not all yoga poses, but whenever anterior tilt happens, because legs are behind us, the belly has to pull in. That's gonna feel very weird in the beginning, okay? So you're doing your set of locusts here, and then you're gonna take a little rest. Take a moment there, yogis. Looks like quite a few of you, we're done there, so I'll keep moving forward. Now, I do wanna do one more round, but it's gonna be bent arms. So I taught straight leg and straight arm. This one's a little different, all right? So I'm gonna bend my knees. My feet are about hips width distance. Hard to see from this angle. It's like I'm trying to put the soles of the feet on the ceiling. I'm also gonna bend my arms 90 degrees. So my elbow, armpit, knees are a 90-degree angle. I'm gonna lift my heart, lift my arms, and then I'm gonna lift my thighs. Now listen, yogis, I do wanna bring my hands higher than my elbows, so I get my rotational quality, okay? I'm gonna lift, and then I'm gonna lower. Lift, pause, lower. Some days I hold the posture for a long time. Some days I go right in and out. Some days I hold for 3 seconds. Sometimes I hold for 5 seconds. If you're doing this stuff regularly, subtle variances in how you move in and out of it, hold or not, can really change how the body is strengthening and being effective. So how do you do it less? How about today, you do it in a way where you really don't do it that way often? So maybe if you always hold, go up and down. Maybe if you always are kind of too fast, hold a little longer. Sometimes I go all the way up and down. Sometimes I go into it, but only halfway down. This is big back body stuff, yogis, all right? So don't overstrain your neck. You don't have to do a ton of them. You do 3 to 6 of these and you're doing great, okay? You don't have to go crazy. So listen, now we're gonna come into yoga core. They're not easy postures, but they are a little bit more stretchy. So listen here, guys. You're gonna slowly maybe take it back to a child pose. Big side body and back body. Now a little release. So you take a few breaths in child pose. I'll keep moving forward, but you're more than welcome to hang here as long as you'd like. Eventually, tabletop position. I'm using blocks. Right foot steps forward. So we're not in vinyasa mode, right? We're just kind of going through some yoga postures. Vinyasis are always kind of obsessed with making all transitions, intentional, and we're just getting right into a pose here. But still, skillfully step forward. Front knee over front heel. Left knee, I don't want to see it here, yogis. I want to crawl that left knee back, okay? Top of the back foot turns down. Hands walk back, chest part lift, hips descend down, big toes press down. Shoulders roll back and down, heart lifts. Anjaneyasana, big breathing into your psoas. The left front hip. If you want more, left arm goes up. If you want a lot, both arms go up. This stretches that glute max. It also gets hamstring on front leg, and then big hip flexor. So psoas major, nearly opposite. Iliopsoas, strongest hip flexor. It's like the deepest muscle running through the hip there, okay? Big inhale. Not gonna hold you there too long. That could be quite intense. Hands plant, right foot back. I like to suggest a little circling of the hip. If you remember, we did arm circles. So always good to circle the hip. It's a fantastic core exercise. A few weeks ago, we did it really slow, if you remember, broke it down. Eventually, left foot forward. Right knee crawls back. Blocks walk back, chest lifts. Let's breathe here. Feet press down, maybe one arm up or both. Even though I said it's a stretch, yogis, I still want you to have a lot of activation here, especially pressing your feet down and kind of lifting up through the core, pulling the navel kind of in. Remember the legs behind you? It wants to arch your back. That is how people hurt their back in yoga, right? Their legs go behind them. That's the most common way we cause that big arch to happen. And then they don't do things also like lifting the heart, the chest to lengthen that arch. But if you pull your belly in a little bit, really difficult to work posterior tilt here, but always a good substitute for posterior tilt is the belly pulling in, okay? Now again, some days I'll hold this a lot longer. It just depends on how I'm feeling. If I wasn't feeling that tight in my hip flexor, I probably wouldn't even do this posture. All right, but I try to give well-rounded postures for a group. Big inhale. Get out of there nice and slow. Circle left hip joint. And we're going to do one more stretch. Now this is the lunge twist. I will start with the knee down, adding the option for the twist. Classic yoga here, these two postures right in a row. Right foot is eventually going to go forward. Now, easier option, yogis. I do keep this shorter stance, okay? Inhale, I rise. Hands come into heart center. I bow, and then I twist. If you want more, I mentioned crawl your left foot back a little bit, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Let's get a nice lunge hold in now. All right? Lengthen through the core. Bend the front knee. Straighten the back knee, pull the belly in, right hip back. Let's breathe. If you know how to go further, where you like to spread your arms. In the last couple of years, personally, I've kind of gotten away from seeing how far I can push my body in range of motion. My body, I noticed I got too flexible, and it started to do some irritation to joints and connective tissues, and I'm kind of lucky that I understand myology that those body parts aren't really meant for weight bearing. And, I don't really want to have my hips replaced or my knees replaced. So I'm going to start early. I still push it in a lot of ways, but I don't really force hip rotations and, spreading my arms too much. So, work hard, but also, be, careful to not over, push that body, all right? So let's do it. Let's slowly drop the back knee down, inhale up, and just second side. It's classic Hatha yoga, side to side practice. Left foot forward, chest rises, hands through prayer and twist. Back toes could tuck, knee walks back, lunge. If it's too much, there is always the version with your hand on the floor. So if our left leg is forward, your right hand would be on the block of the floor inside the foot, and then you just twist. So this is the easier version, yogis. It's fantastic. We did something like that earlier in tabletop, if you were here for the start, the moving variation side to side. So now we're going for that hook. It's very classic, kind of wringing out the digestive tract. And make sure you're breathing. The belly breath here You know, if you've ever seen that, I've mentioned it before, the ultrasound of the diaphragm breathing, it is incredible to see how the diaphragm, the belly breathing, you know, pushes down on your organs and pulls them all up, and they're all moving via that big abdominal breath. Say, man, healing all those organs, all those muscles that help peristalsis. Remember, the digestive tract is all muscularly worked. So all your organs are surrounded in a type of muscle. All right, so here we go, yogis. When you're done with the twist, I was hoping you'd hold that a little bit longer because that's our big twist. So when you're done there, please slowly release. Give it a little cat-cow. So now we're gonna go switch gears into abs and then butt. Here we go. Down to your buttocks. And I'm gonna bring you right down to your back. All right, so take a moment there just to kind of neutralize. Legs are gonna eventually go to the sky. If it's too much, keep your knees bent right here. Ball the feet touch. Knees are over hips. Press your lower back down, curl your body. If your legs are here, lift. Right leg goes forward, hold, breathe. Try to press your lower back down and lift your core. If it's too much, you go here. Even here is enough. But a little modified is more like that. Okay? Bring that right leg up. Left leg goes forward. Hold. Lift the heart. We just stretched your psoas, right? And your abs. Now we tighten. So you're holding the posture right now, yogis. If you're one that moves too much, when do your abs ever have to move a lot? I mean, when you bend over, maybe, right? Go slow, both legs up. And here's the third part. Legs go forward. Low boat it's called. So we did both legs, one leg down, one leg up. Now, both legs go forward a little bit or toes as high as the eyes. Last few breaths. I want you to notice your tendencies. Do you always move too much? Slow down. Be still. But if you don't move enough, I actually probably rather have you move more. So it's very tricky in group fit and group exercise, in group yoga. You know, Rajasic tendencies need to slow down. Or people who are too still, you need to speed it up. Back up, take a little breather. Block if you have it between the knees. Now head, arms on the floor. Knees go over to the right. Pause. Roll your left ribs down. Back up to center. Knees over to the left. Pause. Just like our postures earlier. We're going into the range. We're holding. Subtle body awareness and activation. And then we come back. Continue, please, side to side. If it's easy, legs straight. Try to really feel what we're working on here, yogis. It's a very unique exercise too. It's really, we should be doing this one a lot. It's really powerful at making you very strong, okay? All right, yogis, let's slowly release. So like I mentioned, we're doing abs and bridge. We're gonna go through basically 3 rounds, okay? First round is simple bridge, arms down by side. If you can keep the block between your thighs, that's always good to start here. Press your lower back down, let's lift our hips. Now remember, we gotta work posterior tilt, so I don't wanna see your butt dipping low and your back arching. I want that pubic bone up higher. And then you're gonna slowly lower down, just like other exercises. There's stillness and movement. And then I go back up. Breathe, feel your butt turning on. If you're not used to doing the more posterior tilt here, and you're not used to squeezing your hamstrings toward your shoulders, you feel that in your lower back to start. It's normal. Try to bring it more into the butt. A little bit less into the lower back. Try to lengthen the core a little bit, take pressure out of that arch of the back. I mean, we're going to do one-legged bridge. If you're already ready, please go ahead. It's a fantastic back, body, core exercise. Last few here on the first round. Okay, so that's cement. We came from twists. Please take your time. Looks like quite a few of us are done there. So you might want to take, like I showed us earlier on the chest, the windshield wipe, the rotation, moving, good after the kind of stiff body work. Now, it's kind of like what we did before. We're kind of combining what we just did, but now moving more too. So we're going to bring our right arm to the back of the room. Right arm to the back of the room. Big inhale. Right hand toward left ankle. Inhale and exhale. So I'm not alternating sides. All right? So I'm bringing my right hand toward my left pinky toe. If I want to bring my left hand behind my neck, I can. Remember, it's not like a hyper twist. The first one was the big twist, what we just did with our shoulders on the floor, knees going side to side. This is a small twist. Don't force the big twist here. Now, if it's too much, there's this version. This is kind of classic, simple exercise here. Right elbow toward left knee. See that? That's the same thing, yogis, in a sense, right? I'm just doing more like full body. This is like revolve triangle, see? Or revolve moon. After you do about 10, maybe 6, maybe 15, left arm reaches back, right hand down, and it's seconds up. I am doing a little crunch, so I'm lifting my upper body. Again, right hand can be behind the head. It's a big movement. Again, if you're new to it, maybe 6, so you don't overstrain. This is not really classic yoga, but this is one of my favorite core exercises. As long as your hip flexors aren't like hurting, you're feeling like a real pinchiness in here. I wouldn't do it personally. If I had that situation going on, I would stay in like my abs more, and I would not do the leg swing. I would maybe do like the same thing, but without involving my hip flexors. You know, irritating your hip flexors further when they're already very irritated, probably not a good idea. All right, yogi, so that's a big one. That's like kind of 2 rounds because it's a 2-sided exercise there. So we're gonna go right into our next bridge. Now, if you wanna go angled bridge, so you're gonna see we start the outer hips. Fantastic exercise here. It's classic yoga. It's really not taught that much though in a lot of the modern classes. The soles of the feet come together. So this is called Konasana. Classic. You hold it. Maybe arms go down by side. Press the feet together lightly. Press the outer edge of your feet down. And let's lift our hips. So this is the tricky thing. Your knees are going to want to come together, but you try to let your knees go open more as your hips lift, but then also posterior tilt. So the pubic bone kind of comes forward and up. You grab the outer edge of your mat. Breathe. This is like the supreme glute activator. It's really incredible. Big inhale. Slowly lower down. Take a breather. So that's our second back body. If you want a quick stretch, a nice stretch to follow that is this one, where my knees knock left and my left foot goes on my outer right knee. So that'd be big medial rotation. Your knees were just knocking out, now that's knocking in. And then you'll do your second side. Just giving you a little breather in case these are all intense. Because we got one more round of abs, it's 2 exercises. And then it's single leg bridge. When you're done there, please, I'm gonna start by rolling onto my right side. Now I do wanna be clear, this is kind of like half moon. It's our active like abduction. We just actually kind of did that, but some people have trouble doing it there. And this is a straight leg, so it's not flexed and the knee's not bent. So I'm gonna start, if you want, you can throw your arm under your head. I'm nice and tall, I'm not rounding. My right knee can bend. Now this starts by just laterally leg lifted, okay? This is actually classic yoga, okay? Now, if you want a little bit more, you can add the upper body, all right? So it's moving side body. We did side planks, which is anti-movement. This is a little bit more of that kind of moving exercise. I am not going forward like this. I am going lateral. There's going to be very limited range. So don't go like this. If you can go like that with your leg, you're not doing it. The leg goes out and up. So that's as high as you can lift your leg. You should feel it in the outer hip. Don't let your butt stick out. Nice, good posture. Some days I move, some days I hold. Some days I'll do double leg here. So there's this one. Just in case, you want to try it. Both legs are straight and hover. And you gotta use the bottom arm forward so you're not like I said, people tend to be like this. Okay? This. Make sure you're supporting your neck. Just one round. Until you feel some side body stimulation. Doesn't have to be too intense. And then second side. So you know how people go to the gym and they'll grab like a weight and they go something like this. It's like the same thing, right? Except we're using gravity to resist our lateral flexion. So go ahead, roll to your second side. Start by just lifting the hip. I'd rather have you just lift the leg with quality than to start doing a lateral flexion crunch and lose a lot of the quality awareness, okay? So last few. Now, I'm not getting too disciplined about little subtle details. Sometimes we internally rotate the hips. So it's kind of like your big toe taps down, your heels lifted a little bit higher. And sometimes, we bring the leg in front of you and do it. Sometimes we bring the leg behind you and laterally rotate. So there is a lot of like subtle variations. I'm just having you right in this kind of first variation. But sometimes you're in front of you, sometimes you're in back of you, okay? And it's classic, all these like leg movements. So I want to seal it in with the strong leg swing. So our crunches we did like in the twisted one. Now it's the big leg swing, it's the double. Easier is just legs here, lower back stays down, legs go forward, legs come in. That is totally enough. You kind of already did it, but you can stay here if you'd like. The main goal is to keep your lower back down, yogis. Now, if you want a little bit more, you can do the same thing, but curl the upper body. Legs go forward, in. If you want more, legs go forward, little pop of your pelvis. There is some momentum, but try to reduce it. If you want the whole one here, legs straight, pop the pelvis. Now, remember, yogis, I do like bigger movements there so you can see it. It's actually a very subtle, small movement, reduced momentum. It's a very small pop, and it's almost like you pop up, then you hold that, don't let it go down. Last few. So that's that first kind of pelvic tilt, and they call that like a reverse crunch, where the pelvic tilt and the spine flexes almost from the bottom. Reverse meaning that your origins go to your insertion is a common way that's understood. All right, when you're done now, you take a moment there. That's big core work, big side body that we brought it together. So now we're gonna go our single leg bridge. If you're feeling really good and you want to come up to up table and do this, basically the same exercise, okay? So here's the strong version. It's a butt tap, it's a hold, it's a butt tap. But most of us probably, we're gonna stay on our back. Let's get the glutes firing, yogis, okay? So left leg can go up. I gotta reposition my right foot skillfully. I might wanna brace myself with my arms, press my lower back down, shift my weight to right foot, and then boom, I lift. Pause, and then I lower. Lift, just tap the butt. Lift. You gotta, this is a posture I really want you to drive into. Like, some force, really thrust. You gotta really turn that butt on by going up, okay? So you do about 6, 12 on that first side. You might even need a rest because we don't want that first side stimulation to sacrifice the quality. So if you need a rest between sides, do it please. Because sometimes when we do the right first always, the left is getting less, you're like too stressed out. So eventually, if you're just getting back in here, looks like some of you might be getting kicked out today. The hip, we're doing a one-legged bridge now. Okay, if it's too much, I get it. You can do single leg bridge. But the main objective, yogis, this exercise I'm using for our glute maximus. Let's call it like your main butt cheek. So we just did the outer upper hip here, the lateral leg lift, and the angled bridge. Okay, got that a lot too. But, we gotta really have an exercise that hits glute maximus, it's called. It's supposed to basically be the strongest muscle in your body. And unfortunately, that is not nearly the case for most people. If we can learn to strengthen that muscle, it takes to keep it very simple, it takes a lot of pressure off of other muscles. All right, it's kind of like your strongest worker in your crew is out, and then all the other people have to pick up the slack. It's a lot harder on the group. And then the strong guy comes back, and then it lightens the load for everyone else, okay? So let's do it. It looks like most of you are on your second side. Just have an experience, close your eyes, feel that butt. Just try to notice if you do things like lean a certain way, have any of these kind of unconscious tendencies. Press that big toe down in that thrust leg. Don't lean to the outer edge of the foot, okay? Nice, Kev. Yeah, you're doing a little calf raise too. That's really good because that's back line also, right? So that is a little bit more of a full version because this is hamstring and butt. So if you do lift the heel as you thrust, it is, a fuller chain. It's a little awkward sometimes to have people do that, so I don't teach it that much. But if you know how to do that, where you lift the heel on that thrust foot, you get more back line. So it's basically teaching your calves to work with your hamstrings, to work with your butt more. Keeping your heel down is a little bit more isolated. All right, yogis, so we're just gonna go through that one round there. That was a nice little reclining sequence. 3 rounds of back body, 3 rounds of front body, and some side body and twisting as well. So we're pretty good there. All right, so listen, I'm gonna take you up. I wanna make sure I give you some time for stretching. We did a few earlier, not too much standing yoga. We'll get back to that in Hatha Yoga on Thursday. So when you're ready, take a moment, kind of neutralize. You need a forward bend after that. If you're up for happy baby, it's a really nice one to kind of loosen up. If you wanna go knees together or something, that's fine. I'm going to give you 3 stretches here to close out practice. But if there's other stretches you want to do, that's fine. All right? When you're ready, eventually, make your way to seated, rocking forward and back. And eventually, we're going to make our way up to seated position. And I'm going to do the straddle. We only did a couple of lunges. We didn't really have our legs wide that much. I want to get a nice stretch for those hamstrings and the inner thighs. So I love the straddle. Gets a lot done very quickly here. We're going to sit up nice and tall. And let's take those hands forward. If you want to add things like crawling over to a side or side bend, I'll leave that up to you. I'll mention it, but I'm just going to keep it simple here and breathe. Let's slow down a little bit, yogis. Back to your breath awareness. The abdominal breathing. As you inhale, you might find a little bit more length through the body. As you exhale, a little bit more relaxation. All right, when you're done there, second stretch will be front body. That's more like the inner and the back, right? So we'll slowly bring our legs together, and then we'll do the Virasana. If you'd rather do something like camel, restorative bridge, even upright pigeon, it is in the back bend territory. But I already did Anjaneyasana, so I won't go there. But Vira, really needed by a lot of us, stretch out those quads and then the hip flexor. So knees go together. In this one, in the first straddle stretch, our legs were wide, feet were flexed, legs were straight, and we went forward. Now, knees are together and bent, toes are pointed, and we lean back. All the opposites, okay? Start to lean back. And this one's gonna, kind of force you into an arch. Just bring a little bit more of your meditative practice here. Not easy to meditate in power postures, even though that's what the yogis were kind of intending in a lot of ways. And, remember, yogis, this class, Yoga Core, it's not like classic practice, Yoga Core, but, I work with a lot of people personally, and I tend to find a lot of people have, their core could be stronger, the butt, the abs, the middle and lower back. So I just kind of thought, like, we should probably have this on the schedule once a week. And it's kind of can get, like I said, fitnessy. So just make sure you're remembering to make it mindful, kind to your body. Remember, ahimsa is the #1 practice of yoga, which is kindness, compassion, toward the self, towards others, and towards the insects too. Don't forget that part. All right, so when you're done there, so listen, we got time for I was gonna have you do a little seated spinal twist and touch your toes. We did that hook twist, that's kind of an intense one. So when you're done there, you wanna release your legs and they go straight. If you know how to do the double bent knee twist, it's a kind of sneaky way to get in like a Gomukhasana or pigeon. Right heel outside left knee. A lot of us are just going to stay here, swing that left arm around, lift the heart, and twist right. A few of us might want to do left heel swings around toward right hip. So double bent knee, like I said, it's kind of like a pigeon or a Gomukhasana. And then that forearm or elbow gets outside that knee. Try to lift the heart, roll the shoulders back and down. Use your breath. Big inhale, slowly unwinding, switching sides. So you'll finish up your twist. Option of throwing your legs forward if you want to lay on your back and swing your legs up over, or just bring your knees into your chest. If not, legs forward, Dandasana, sit up. If you'd like, arms up, and then forward fold. Final pose before we do our closing meditation. So eventually, you're going to establish yourself in a comfortable physical form, a place where you can relax your body and relax your breath. And hopefully that's going to start to relax the mind a little bit. You know, meditation really just does begin with just sitting with your thoughts. You know, a lot of people have this idea like, I have to stop the thoughts. In meditation, you know, there's a famous yogi teacher named Lahiri Mahashaya. He lived like a couple hundred years ago, right? But the guru, there's famous Yogananda. He has an ashram up in Palisades. His teacher was Sri Yukteswar, and Sri Yukteswar's teacher was Lahiri Mahashaya. And he always said, the best way to increase the fastest, most sure way to increase your happiness is to just sit with your thoughts, to spend time daily sitting with your thoughts. He always used to talk about people that are searching for happiness outside, right? Like vacations and material things, relationships, but they don't actually get happy. But he said, happiness is within. It's not outside, it's inside. So just really meditation starts with that process, just establishing yourself, go beyond the body. So still comfortable, relax, and then just sit with your thoughts, yogis. Closing meditation. Let's do about 3 to 4 minutes. Take your time.